Israel, Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan, Kaja Kushima, you know, when he make on me, what you show. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, you know, what you show. What you show. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, you know what you show. Manchester, you know, Sumanguru, you know what you show. What's that to do, you know? Wamasa, you know, Yasantwa, you know what you show. Kaja Israel, Kaja Egypt, Kaja Ethiopia, Kaja Sudan, what you show. Akwaka, you know what you have for Karacha, I got you one year, and in your fang. Akwaka, you know what you have for Karacha, I got you one year, and in your fang. I'm a Caminian Matu, I'm a Caonian Motu, I'm a Caonian Watumo.
The Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum is proudly sponsored by TapTapSend. Download the TapTapSend app today and use promo code GCAF, that is GCAF, to get a cool £5 bonus on your first transfer.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada dada. And then he left go menu. My son, this is a setup that he was Spain. Oh yes. I Spain most any secret free ha. And for Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a man from over a baby from round. Oh, that be my son, would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now and I just send money to my mom. And on TSC, also don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on TapTapSend, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through TapTapSend to Ghana. And please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a crown top. Reggae man of a pack. It's TapTapSend.
Welcome to BWF Solicitors, a trusted and experienced family law firm specializing in immigration and naturalization, as well as dispute resolution. Meet Bernard Owusu, our esteemed senior partner with over 30 years of experience and known for his expertise and dedication to serving our clients in the community. BWF Solicitors stand for integrity, respect, excellence, teamwork, diversity and inclusion, and service to the community. We provide tailored assistance across all areas of UK and Ghana law. At BWF Solicitors, every day is filled with dedication, creativity, and a commitment to finding the best solutions for our clients. Led by experienced senior partner Bernard Owusu, the team at BWF Solicitors is ready to assist you with your immigration, naturalization, dispute resolution, family law, new wills and probate, Ghana law and practice needs. We are dedicated to providing solutions to our clients' problems. You can find us at the 4th floor, Anna House, 214 to 218 High Road, Seven Sisters, London, N15 4NP. Main office line 0208 493 7340 or our emergency line 07712 761 884.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum. This evening, we are here to talk about, as always, some of the issues that brought us around our living here and our ability to come here and live well and legally through the right sources. In the past couple of years or months, I would say that the Home Office are varying various routes, which is why we are here this evening to talk about it with an expert that knows it all and hopefully will guide us as a community to become better at how best to avoid some of the pitfalls around becoming a licensed employer or employee in UK. Tonight, as always, my special guest tonight here with you is one of our own, someone that needs no much of long introduction, but somebody who does a lot to help us as a community. He's a barrister at law here in the UK and in Ghana, practiced over so many years, and understand the legalities and the routes that you need to know for yourself and your family to guide you through the process. We are privileged to have with us our own very Bernard Owusu, senior partner at BWF Solicitors. BWF Solicitors are a very professional organization. Many of our community are enjoying their service. So I join you and I ask you to join me too as we welcome Bernard Owusu to this platform. Chairman, I always call you Chairman, and you always do the best for us. So by all means, tonight is another one night. I'm sure your expertise has been brought to bear, and I look forward to listening. Audience, that's your panelist for tonight, and hopefully we are going to get as much as we need tonight. Chairman, please take over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nana. I'm very grateful. It's my absolute pleasure to be here this evening. As always, it's a service to the community, something that really delights me when I'm called upon to do. Over the last 31 years, I've served the community. And it's my proudest moment when I'm called upon to provide my service. Today, as usual, if you see a topic, it's basically because it's become almost an albatross around our neck. And for some people, it's a point of stressful situations, both for employers and employees. And, we'll try and do a bit of justice to the broad topic at stake. And to help me to do that, I will call upon my slides, which will then guide me. Else I will deviate and take you around all the places. So if you bear with me, I will bring my slides up and I will share that. So let me see where I can put this. Okay. Now, it's a broad topic, and it's how to avoid the pitfalls of the skilled worker route as a licensed sponsor, an employer or employee. So it covers both the service provider, the supervisor, the license holder, and those who are discharging their duties for them. So that would be the employee. Usually in these areas, you don't have a self-employed person, and it's specific to the skilled migrant route. Our focus in the test case will be for the care route, and also we might delve a bit into the building industry, which is also part of the shortage occupation. So that you understand, how important these things are, I just want to refer you to what we call the MAC. MAC is the Migration Advisory Committee, which is the sole committee that advises the government on matters to do with migration. And their authority in this area is unquestioned. A lot of the personnel in there have many years, possibly decades of experience, and they are also made up of business people and also professionals who have particular skills in this area. Now, the slide that I'm showing was recently shared, and it's from the Migration Advisory Committee, that's a report that they did for the government, and the recommendation is for the role of shortage occupation. So they recommended several roles, and those that are of particular importance to us today is the care route and also the building industry, both of which have been recommended to continue. As we sit here, the government and the care industry says they have between 150,000 to 250,000 vacancies for care positions. There are over 1 million people waiting for carers. And those people who have set up care advisory committees and action points to see whether they can move the government to even bring in more people. Unfortunately, the care industry is an industry that is filled with low wages, long hours, and high turnover of staff. And therefore, when this government added this to the shortage occupation just about a year and a half ago, many people were filled with glee in the sense that we all thought that they were going to fill all the roles. Unfortunately, staff turnover is still really big in the industry. And unfortunately, we haven't got many people to do this work. However, there's something that has been noticed and it has been recommended by MAC, and government is aware of what's happening. And if you look at the highlighted part, which is the last paragraph of the slide, and it catches the particular problems that we have in the industry. And in the letter to the Secretary of State, they clearly says that we are increasingly concerned about the serious exploitation issues being reported within the care sector. We therefore plan to closely monitor the use of immigration system by care work occupations and the health and social care sector broadly, and will provide further comments on this area in our 2023 annual report in December. Now, I have got a report from King's College, and that's a report that they have gone around and spoken to people and filed a report. The report is called Understanding the Impact of Changes to the UK Health and Care System on Adult Social Care Workforce in UK, Phase 1, the visa study. And I think anybody who works in this industry must look for the report and read. It's particularly of concern to me that in spite of all the advice that we give, the clinics that we run, the social media streams that we do, particularly education for care providers, it seems that people have still not got the enormity of what we are likely to face, to the extent that even some people were afraid that this part of the work permit will be taken away. But clearly, the recommendation is for it to continue. For you to understand the importance of this, I think I will share the next slide. And that is sponsorship is not a privilege. Sorry, it's not a privilege, and also it's not a right. It's a system that reflects the UK's needs and is clearly there to benefit the UK. And in so doing, certain rights and policies have been crafted to help the government and the providers to understand their roles and duties within this particular industry. As you can see, significant trust is placed in sponsors, and they must ensure that they comply with immigration law and the wider UK law, and not to behave in a manner that is not conducive to the public good. Now, to achieve this aim, all licensed sponsors must fulfill certain duties. Some of these duties apply to all sponsors, whilst others are specific to those licensed under certain rules. What are those duties? There are 5 thematic areas that today I'll be talking about. The duty to file a report, duty to document, duty to comply with UK immigration, duty to comply with the wider UK laws. And then the final duty is not to behave in a way that will bring your actions against the UK public policy. So if we move further, The objective that I have highlighted, which is the 5 thematic areas, is what has been stated here. As you can see, prevent abuse of immigration laws and sponsorship arrangements, capturing early any patterns of behavior that may cause concern, addressing possible weaknesses in process which can cause those patterns, monitoring compliance with immigration rules, all parts of the worker and temporary worker route, ensuring sponsors do not behave in a way that is detrimental to the wider public good. So there are abiding guidance, and the overarching theme throughout is candor, reputation, abiding by the laws, rules and regulation, ensuring that you play by the rules, but above all, that you do not cause any harm to the UK wider public good. So what are the specific duties that each person will have? Your responsibility as a sponsor starts on the day that you're granted a license. And clearly that duty continues until you surrender your license. And carefully, you can see that they've curated certain particular actions that you ought to be taken. Because for them to monitor you properly, you must have good record keeping. And record keeping will be either in the form of a paper or electronic records. So if these things are not done properly, and those are the 5 thematic areas, the first one is a sponsor's duty to keep records and to report. If you don't do those things properly, then one of 3 things may happen to you. You may either surrender your license, or they may put a stop on your license, or your license may be revoked altogether. Now, this is quite serious, because just bear in mind that those people who run this business, some of whom have run this business for decades, have always run a very regulated business, because most of these people are CQC regulated. And therefore, the regulatory regime is not foreign to them. They are used to it. However, the additional burden of adding the sponsorship license creates extra duties for you to respect, including the duty to ensure that you comply with all the UK immigration rules and not to cause any harm to our public good. Your reporting duties, therefore, includes reporting when the person you sponsor doesn't turn up, and you have 5 working days to do that. It also means that if your system changes, your name change, your address changes, you change anything in the work pattern, for example, you move from a CQC regulator to a local authority, then you're required to report that to the Home Office. And again, if the changes to the organization are set out in what we call the C2, which is one of those required slides that they have provided to employers, it means that you've got a duty to report that. I've mentioned location. I've mentioned if you stop sponsoring people. All these are duties that the Home Office takes seriously, because if you don't comply with those duties, then it may mean that when they come for their compliance visits, it's more likely than not that one of 3 regulatory actions will be taken against you. And it can be very, very dire, because if you're sponsoring people, if you brought people from outside or retain people from here who are now relying on you to do their 5 years so that they can get their indefinite leave to remain, or may have brought their families to live here, and clearly they rely on you to make sure that you retain your sponsorship license throughout the period that they are required to provide a service so that they can get a necessary time on their visa, which is 5 years to get indefinite leave. If you lose that, then clearly you've also caused them harm. And these are the things that I always bring to the attention of providers, that you're not only running a business, but you're also running people's lives. And before, it was just purely CQC regulated business. Now it's more than that. It involves immigration. And in addition to your reporting duties, you also have a record-keeping duty. The record-keeping duty involves you keeping certain documents which have been highlighted in what we call Appendix D. And this will be things from CVs, applications, interview records, why you prefer one candidate to another, where you advertise, how you advertise, mode of advertisement, how you came about knowing one particular candidate, including onboarding them with collecting data, passports, checking their right to work, their dependents, next of kin, including data which is protected under the Data Protection Act 2018. All these are very, very important duties that it's required for you to comply with. And I, for one, what I've always told people, that now you're serving two masters. You're serving the master, which is the first master, which is the CQC, because when they come on visits and of course your premises or your organization doesn't comply with the laws, they can take away your license. In the same way, if the Home Office were to come for their compliance visit, then they can take it away as well. And what I've told them is that when you're keeping records, your record keeping can be in two formats. As I said, paper format or electronically. I always prefer electronic format, because what that means is that even if the Home Office is not physically on your premises, you can share that with them for them to go through. It might be a folder, it might be a link, it might be an Adobe link that you can share. It might be a software that you have that you can admit them to go on the system and check. Or it might be a folder that you've created. So for we as solicitors, when we set these businesses up and we get them the license, what we do is that we create folders for them from the date that they start the process. And therefore, every person that is employed by this business would have come through us, which is basically for us to deal with their immigration processes. And therefore, we create a chain of documents, and these are all electronic documents. All you need is a folder for each employee, so that when they come on a visit, you can show them. This is an ongoing duty. The duty only ends when the person has left your employment and 1 year after, or 1 year after your last compliance visit. Either way, your duty to keep these documents continues, because your duty is not only to CQC or the Home Office, but it may also be to the HM Revenue and Customs. And it's therefore important that some of these documents are kept for a minimum of 6 years. I've mentioned the evidence that you're required to collect. I've mentioned the record of number of people who apply for the job. At least one of the items of evidence shows the process that you use to identify why you preferred particular candidate to the other, a list of common interview questions that you've asked, brief notes of why a candidate was successful, information about your scoring system or grading system, and any other relevant information, including the advertisement you place if you did, or whether you advertise on your website or Indeed, or whether you did an unpaid advert on LinkedIn or social media. It might be one of those, Facebook or the other one. Whatever mode or media that you use, it's very important that all this is documented. All this is documented, because what it does is that it affords you the excuse if there's ever any problem, and for you to explain your actions. And those actions as to whether you're somebody who's involved in something which is untoward, yeah, you might be able to explain away your actions. And you understand better when I come towards the end of this presentation. Again, copies of your pay slips and PAYE documents, evidence of amount and frequency. There's a reason why they're asking for all this document. Copy of contract of employment or written statement of employment, particulars of employment. I will go on to add staff handbook, name and signature of all parties involved, start and end date. That is the onboarding process. There are hours of work and indicative hours that a person has worked to be paid. The reason these things are important is that when, as a sponsor, you issue the first Home Office regulated process to employ someone through your system, you issue a paper or electronic document, which is called certificate of sponsorship or defined certificate of sponsorship. This document is what shows that this employer, who now has a license from the Home Office, has given this person permission to go and apply for visa to come to the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, prior to this process, Home Office was doing all this on its own. All you were supposed to do was to put in an application, and they will do the assessment, and when they are satisfied, they will issue the visa. They have delegated parts of their processes to you. And that is why it's highly regulated industry that any person who has a sponsorship license is supposed to comply with. Now, I mentioned copies of any relevant qualifications. Not all the rules will have relevant qualifications, but of course, if somebody is coming to work as a care assistant or carer or senior carer, you would expect them to at least be able to know what we call the manual handling processes, how to prescribe or administer medication, how to write reports, and how to make notes. It's always important that in your onboarding processes and your recruitment processes, you are able to show that this person has the requisite skills, or that I will provide training for this person. And if you're providing training, then you must also ensure that that is documented, because it helps you when it comes to any employer-employee dispute at the employment tribunal, or even if it's a case at a county court for a breach of contract, because you come to understand that if the person hasn't worked for you, except in very limited areas, even if you sack them or you dismiss them, they will not have recourse to law, except in very, very limited circumstances, and I will come to that. The third duty is complying with UK laws UK immigration laws. And as you know, I've mentioned the COS, how you assign it. I've also mentioned employing people who have the requisite permission to work in the UK and the right to stay. Now, the art of issuing the certificate of sponsorship is a legal process. So if somebody puts in an application and the person is qualified, the Home Office says that you must, one, ensure that the person has 70 points in what we call the eligibility or mandatory requirements. One is the salary level. Two, that they have the language, B1 for 4 modules, that's speaking, listening, reading, and writing. The skill set, and that the sponsor has a sponsorship license. So you just don't issue the certificate of sponsorship. And I know many people just issue it. I've seen people come to me with fake English certificates. And when you ask them questions, they run away, they don't come back again. But you as an employer, it's your duty to make sure that the outline of the 70 points is set out clearly, and you can show or demonstrate how these people met this requirement. That is complying with the immigration rules. And then there's something called genuine vacancy. Now, as you know, I'm sure a lot of you would have heard horror stories in the community of allegations of people being brought here and, there's no job for them. And these people, some of them would have spent, a considerable amount of money to come, because this process is not cheap. The certificate of sponsorship alone, even for a shortage occupation for 5 years, is $2,000 plus. The application itself, it's about $690, $700. If it's a family of 3 or 4, then you have to pay for each person. If you employ the services of a lawyer, you may add another $1,000 or $2,000 to the cost. By the time you realize, you are almost close to 5, 6, 7, 8,000. If you went through a recruitment agency, they may add your fee of 1,000 or a bit. If you add your travel costs, you're going into 10,000. That is why it's important that when we are doing this, we do it properly. Because the money is involved, although the care guidance is that the employers should bear some of this cost. But clearly, some of these businesses are not big businesses, and for them to take on such huge outlay several thousands at a time, I would say per person, you're looking at a minimum of at least about 4,000. If they're employing 20 people, that is about 80,000. I mean, clearly that's not a cost that they can take on alone. So most often than not, it's a shared responsibility. Your flight, your accommodation, your solicitor's fee, and all those things are charges that are allowed to be charged. Some of the charges are not allowed to be charged. But again, that's something that you will have to discuss with the person who's recruiting you, which will be the recruitment agency. But for the person to offer you the employment, it means there should be a role and a vacancy for you. So when I hear about the horror stories of people coming in without employment, and some of them have been here for months and months and months and months, and there's no employment, then it beggars belief whether they understood their duty of making sure that before they offer the role, there must be a genuine vacancy. Unfortunately, it seems to me that for some people, the concept of having regard to the rules and regulations to which they have signed up when they were applying for the license doesn't come in once they've got a license. But please, as I always warn, if you have a sponsorship license, it is an invitation to the Home Office to come in either announced or unannounced to audit you on a compliance visit any day of the year. Because when you sign up promising them that every certificate and employment that you will offer will be because there's a need for that person to come in and that there's a genuine vacancy. So when people come here and there's no genuine vacancy, or the genuine vacancy was a figment of somebody's imagination, and clearly there was no vacancy, then it raises a lot of questions about whether the sponsor is compliant with the UK immigration rules. And I've always made it a point to people on the videos that we've done so far, I've done about 5 or 6 videos. I've written 6 blogs on this particular subject so that we educate ourselves, the community, the employers, employees, the potential employees, so that we don't have connection men going out to our countries to con these people and take their money and break them, and there's no offer of employment. Recently, I had a call from a lady, and the call was very frantic. She was weeping on the phone. She's seen my video on YouTube, and she felt that she has to call me. She has to reach out to me because I'm the only person who can help her. And her story was that she, together with 4 other people, have paid £40,000 to a lady. She sent me the lady's photograph. She sent me her Facebook link. She sent me all the conversations and the WhatsApp messages. And this lady has gone, I don't want to mention the NHS, but it's an NHS hospital in central London. And she's gone there and issued them a certificate of sponsorship for a trauma specialist. Now, you and I know that when we say trauma specialist in this country, we're talking about a specialist doctor at the level of a consultant or a GP. And for me, a midwife, which is what this lady was, a general nurse practitioner in Ghana, cannot be a trauma specialist in the UK. And therefore, on the face of it, if I was involved in this process, I would tell them this is fraud, run away, don't get involved. Because whoever they were working with, they didn't understand what the UK's laws are, or if they did, maybe they were party to this fraud. She paid £40,000. Now, I offered to help her, but again, as with everything, when you're getting involved as a lawyer, there are rules and regulations that you comply with. Your client care letter of engagement, everything must go. And these people might sign up to. And of course, there are charges involved. I mean, it's a lot of money, 40,000. The person that she showed is somebody that I eventually did my background information. I realized who she was. And I also saw the offer that she made that she would pay them £2,000 at a time. And so typical with our people, Nyamebe, obviously, the rest of the story is basically that is money gone down the drain. And therefore, the end slide, I will pick on certain things that employees will have to look at before they sign up to these things. Now, the subject that I've just broached on falls under complying with the wider UK law. So the wider UK law will be anything from employment law to criminal law to other laws. Might be Race Relation Act. It might be Employment Act law. It might be other laws, but you are required, it's a duty. So when I mentioned the 5 thematic areas, this is the 4th one. It's a duty that you have to comply with the wider UK law, including paying the minimum wage, the working time regulation. You must understand what the working time regulation means. Paying pension, whether enrolling on automatic pension, complying with illegal work and right to rent legislation, holding suitable planning permission if you're using your premises for something, and other matters, including doing your DBS, if the person is going to provide service to vulnerable people, which care will be. The final 5 on the 5 thematic areas is a behavior that is not conducive to public good. Now, this is a catch-all phrase. It means that the slightest thing you do, even offering people employment when the employment is non-existent, inducing them to travel all the way from Ghana to come to the UK with a promise of work, and the work is non-existent, that will fall under this. That will fall under this. And it may be a criminal behavior, or it may amount to fraud. Recently, we got a call from 2 people who were almost beside themselves. They work for a care person in Oxford, and this is a lady that I know, and they've come here. Other things they told me, this is a public place I wouldn't want to mention. But that morning, the immigration, the police, the social services from the local authority, and the modern slavery people from the Home Office had attended her premises. The same day, interviews were conducted of people on the premises, and it came to light that some were making accusations of modern slavery, and others were making accusations of fraud. And therefore, it became very, very difficult for some of these people, and they wanted us to help them. Now, as a community, as I said, we're very happy to help. But clearly, in some of these instances, it's more criminal cases. And therefore, although did do crime a long time ago, it's not an area that I do, but we have got people in the community who do that. So they were referred on so that they will get advice and support. And clearly says that the Home Office will not license organizations whose actions and behaviors are non-conducive to public good. And as I've added, it's a wide spectrum of behaviors. The problem is that any behavior which falls foul of any of our laws may fall foul of this catch-all phrase, public good. And therefore, my advice to providers in this area is that if you've taken on the task of answering to your CQC and answering to the Home Office and dealing with this very sensitive area, and as I sit here, I've seen 3 professional reports, all raising problems about this area. All. There's a report that I may share if there's time on my side. All. These are professionally written reports by professors of law, professors in academia, professors in social care, social and adult care. They've all raised serious issues, some value issues, some moral issues, some fraudulent concerns and some abuse of employees. But why this is so, I clearly do not understand. But please, whilst I say this, let me add that the overwhelming majority of people in industry, or in this industry, are law-abiding people. Every person that I know who works in this industry are very, very hard-working professionals who, proud to getting this license, were already running successful businesses. So when we make accusations that there are fraudulent people in this industry, we mean a very, very tiny minority. Very, very tiny minority. And the issues we raise are concentrated around certain areas in the UK and within certain communities. And that is why it's important that we educate ourselves and our people to let them understand that once you've come in, it's also possible that the promise given to you that you have a job to do may be an unfulfilled promise. And the steps you take towards fulfilling those promises are the things that I've put at the end of this presentation. Now, so, I'm still on the sponsors and employers. So what is the consequences of non-compliance of the 5 thematic areas? And it's your duty to keep records, duty to report, duty to comply with the UK immigration rules, duty to comply with the wider UK laws, and the final duty or duty of candor, which is the duty of making sure that your conduct does not conflict with the wider good of the UK. If you breach any of these duties, then this is what will happen. The Home Office, as I said, will visit each and every provider. Yes, there are thousands of them. When you go in the Home Office, there are thousands and thousands of sponsors. But I can see a situation when the Home Office is going to put a laser focus on this industry. And it's coming pretty soon. Because you saw the advice of the Migration Advisory Committee. And they're going to write a report in December. And I know what they're going to write. Because I've read 2 professional reports, one by King's College, which is worrying. And that is why over the last 2 months, we as a business and as community advice providers, we've spent enormous time through videos and audios and social media streams and reels and blogs. I've written lots of articles about this area to make sure that we advise everyone about the dangers that people may find themselves in. Because it might not just be the downgrading or revocation or suspension of your license. It may be a fine. It may be a civil or criminal penalty. And of course, any of those will bring reputational harm. Because if you're a business in UK, your reputation is something that is non-negotiable. Because if your reputation is damaged, it brings a downward spiral of your business. And clearly, if your turnover and your cash flow is not working, it means very soon your business will going to be bankrupt, because you might not be able to meet your day-to-day expenses, and you might not be able to recruit. So it's very serious. It's a very serious thing that we're dealing with. And the advice I give everyone is to have your business and run it like you used to run, but also, because of the additional responsibility, is to have a back office and run your back office with professionals. Professionals might be somebody who is educated and learned and knowledgeable and experienced in these areas. But my advice will always be to have a solicitor as part of your back office, because we are able to identify trends. We are able to preempt any problem. And even where they occur, we are able to ameliorate the consequences, downgrade it, And the ultimate thing is to save you from potential reputational harm. Because as I keep saying, most of us who work in the legal field are people who have years of experience. What we also have is a community network of support, so that if people need certain skills and support, we may be able to refer them on. And I've always said that the best business in the community is a business that has a very, very good and professional back office. The back office deals with the staff issues, the legal issues, deals with complaints, HR problems, because some of this business will not, as a matter of course, have an HR department. But HR is a live issue. Threats of dismissal, what is conduct which is unbefitting of a professional, how to follow the processes of dismissal and disciplinary processes. These are things that you as a business, because you don't have a big HR department, might not know. But where you have a back office, which is manned by a professional can be anybody, then clearly it means that you might be able to ensure that you provide a service that people are paying you for. So, employer and employees, you all have a duty of care. You have a duty of trust and confidence, and duty of fidelity, which is candor, to tell the truth and make sure that you are open with each other. And there's a reason why we put this slide there, is to ensure that when the process is beginning and you're doing your onboarding, it's not a master and a servant relationship. It's never is. It's a relationship which is contractual in nature and has its rights and responsibilities. So when somebody enters into this relationship, they enter into a relationship willingly and knowingly, accepting their rights, but also accepting that they have responsibilities to discharge. It includes a good working relationship. It also includes that employers and employees work together effectively. If it means you make reasonable adjustments, understand what a legal phrase reasonable adjustment means. Also, it applies when an employee is not working but is still employed. For example, if they're on sick leave, how is your sick leave done? Do you have a staff handbook? Are you complying with the terms of employment? These are things that are statutorily protected and therefore cannot be overridden by express contractual terms. And if any of this is breached, then it brings consequences which will be very dire for the employed and the employee. And on our part, we don't like seeing our community members going to employment tribunal or the county court or any other court, because it's costly, it's expensive, it's stressful, and it breaks down relationships. And for us, the only thing we do is to help, advise, counsel, signpost, direct, to make sure that members of the community are as alive to their rights and duties in this area as any other person. So, what are the nuggets for people who will be coming from Ghana or any other country? So, this was put in because we wanted to share with everyone the recurring complaints that we receive, mostly for people who've come here and they realize that what they were promised is not what is being delivered. So your first step will be your contract. It starts with an offer of employment. Review your offer of employment. Kofi Manu from Bono straight to Accra meets a recruiting agent, promises him heaven in London. Kofi Manu calls his parents. It's cocoa season, they've harvested. They've got a couple of thousands together. Kofi Manu comes back to Accra, gives it to a recruiting contractor. The process starts, the onboarding process starts. He doesn't read any of these documents. All he does is to append his signature. Kofi Manu does not ask for offer of employment. Kofi Manu doesn't ask for the nature of his work. Kofi Manu doesn't read his JD, which is a job description. He doesn't know the role specific that he's going to play. Kofi Manu doesn't ask, where am I going to work? Is that going to be in a nursing home, or am I going to be a domiciliary care provider? Do I need a license? Do I have to learn how to drive? I'm in Ghana. What sort of license do I need? Can I drive with international driver's license? Or must I convert my international driver's license? When I can I convert? Or do I have to go through the learning process and pass my test? Kofi Manu doesn't know any of this. All Kofi Manu knows is that there's an opportunity to go to London. There's an offer of employment. The offer of employment comes with £24,000 a year. Kofi Manu is told that he can work overtime. This is 38 hours a week, but he's been told that he can do 60 hours a week. Kofi Manu is very happy because he will be earning close to 30,000 a year. So the family puts together money. Kofi Manu comes. Kofi Manu arrives. For 3-4 months, he's been asked to attend training. Mostly, there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason why those trainings are organized for a long period is because, as we all know, some of these unscrupulous people do not have the job available. And therefore, they intentionally extend the training period. And even after the training period, there's no job. So always review your employment offer. Ask questions. Ask for your employee handbook. Ask for your contracts or statement of employment. Know the difference between the role you're going to play as a domiciliary carer and an ordinary carer. Because with domiciliary care, you will be moving from house to house. You're providing a service to people in their own homes. And most often than not, you'll be going to 5, 6, 7, possibly 10 homes a day. They might be in the same district, county, or area, but it may require that you drive. Kofi Manu arrives, he doesn't know any of this. He's never driven before, has not even ridden a bicycle before, and therefore becomes a problem. There's a dispute. Kofi Manu then raises alarm. The employer says, well, look at your terms of contract. He says you must be able to drive. Kofi Manu calls a lawyer. A lawyer says, well, you've not been employed for 2 years. So even if you feel hard done by, clearly, you cannot bring an action for unfair dismissal. At best, you may look at breach of contract, but that's very expensive. Are you prepared to go through that? Ask what may the service be involved. Ask whether you have to drive. These are life problems. And for me, it is your life mainly. And if it's your life, you must be interested in the outcome. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the presentation, and I'm grateful that you have all stayed put for 1 hour, and I'm hopeful that the presentation itself has done a lot of, those that we hope it would do, which is basically that we've educated ourselves. Thank you, and we'll take questions if there are any.
Thank you so much. Bernard, thank you so much. As always, you don't cease to amaze me because the experience and the knowledge you bring to this job is unmatchable. So let me. Can I be heard?
If there are questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yes. So we will take a few minute break and we will come back. If you can take yourself a glass of water after 1 hour of presentation, we will come back and then take more questions from the audience.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada dada. And then he left go menu. My son this is a setup. Who was Spain? Oh yes. I Spain was any secret free ha. Ghana. Yet 211 you. It's 11 and as a farmer of a baby farm round. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, also, don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on Tap Send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through Tap Send to Ghana. And please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a clan talk. Reggae man of a pack. It's Tap Send.
Welcome to BWF Solicitors, a trusted and experienced family law firm specializing in immigration and naturalization, as well as dispute resolution. Meet Bernard Owusu, our esteemed senior partner with over 30 years of experience and known for his expertise and dedication to serving our clients and the community. BWF Solicitors stand for integrity, respect, excellence, teamwork, diversity and inclusion, and service to the community. We provide tailored assistance across all areas of UK and Ghana law. At BWF Solicitors, every day is filled with dedication, creativity, and a commitment to finding the best solutions for our clients. Led by experienced senior partner Bernard Owusu, the team at BWF Solicitors is ready to assist you with your immigration, naturalization, dispute resolution, family law, new wills and probate, Ghana law and practice needs. We are dedicated to providing solutions to our clients' problems. You can find us at the 4th floor, Anna House, 214 to 218 High Road, Seven Sisters, London, N15 4NP. Main office line 0208 493 7340 or our emergency line 07712 761 884.
Welcome back. And thank you for staying through with us for the past hour. As always, Bernard has always been a very experienced lawyer who knows what he's telling us. And that is why whenever we have Bernard on the platform, it is important you tell your friends and your friends to tell your friends so they can hear this good news. This program is put together with the help and partnership of Ghana Union UK and Ireland, the Ghana Nurses Association UK, the Nightingale Nurses Association UK, and the Western Region Association of Nurses UK. It is supported by the Ghana High Commission. That is why we have to always try and bring you somebody who can be tested and whose information are accurate. So whenever we've gone a little bit quiet, it's because we are trying to find you the best person. We don't want to bring people from TikTok and Facebook and social media to come and just tell you stories. So bear with that. These professionals are hard to get. And of course, it's sponsored with the help of Tap Send. Tap Send, your #1 money transfer company to Ghana. When you want to send money, use the promo code G, Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum. It's the only way we can also promote this event, online for you. And of course, BWF Solicitors offering their help. Now, Bernard, please, if you can be put back on the screen so we can, a little bit of questions that others may have. I've seen a few questions on, or can you, yes, right, thank you. I have some few questions. Now, you did mention a lot of things around employers' duty, employees' duty. You and I, as community leaders here, we hear all the stories every day. Now, when somebody comes here, fully given permission to travel here or certificate of whatever, and is here, and the employer cannot find a job, and is holding this employee to ransom, how long can this continue? And at what point can the employee exit this arrangement to be able to find help elsewhere?
Yes, so what I do as part of my community engagement is to advise those who have nursing and healthcare experience to then apply to the NHS. About a quarter of the people who have come from Ghana have been recruited by the NHS. They will just whip you up. They like them. And you will not be employed as a nurse initially, but maybe a nursing assistant or even a care assistant, or some of the people are employed as porters in the hospital. And for them, it gives them secured employment. You have a proper pension. The wages is similar because it's a low paid job, really. But above all, it's a big employer. So those issues with no work doesn't exist in the NHS. The other thing that I've also told them, there are also care industries in the UK. There are people who are looking for carers, and they've also got a sponsorship license. And I'm afraid most of these businesses are not in the community. Yes. They are people who are outside our community. So it's very difficult to identify them. But we're doing an exercise, we're identifying all the other businesses which are not part of the community, who have vacancies, and we will share this. The problem with also going through this route is that if somebody faces a problem, they might come and say, well, you share this, and through your recommendation, we went to this employer. So we're also very careful, because we don't want to be held vicariously liable for the actions of someone, although legally doesn't exist. But if somebody wants to sue you, they can just, file a claim, and you have to enter and respond, and clearly we haven't got the time to do that. We do what we can. We try and help the community, provide support and advice. If you go on our portal, on our website, we've got several blogs on the articles that are personally written. I make sure I write them myself. And it's just to put laser focus on some of these areas, advice on the potential problems on the way, hazards and traps, so that we don't get caught. And a lot of people listen, but if somebody's determined, somebody just wants to come here. So the fact that they are even here is good for them. Whether they have work or not, they will always find their way around. They are not the people that I'm talking about. I'm talking about those who have been brought here and can't find work. But again, I must add that the overwhelming majority of people in this industry and in the community are law-abiding, and they work their socks off to find contracts and do business development to bring in work, so that the people they bring in can find work to work.
And somebody's put in the chat room, would potential agencies require a license if they need to recruit some of the workers who are already in the system? So,
no. So the agents who don't have a license can recruit them to work for 20 hours a week.
Right.
Because the law prior to August, they could recruit them to work as many hours as possible. That was brought in temporary in February, but in August that stopped. Now, if somebody is here on a skilled worker route, they can work 20 hours outside their main employer with anyone, but in the same industry. So if you were recruited as a care worker, you can work 20 hours. And most of the people, that is what keeps them going. But just remember that the reason why they're here is because the employer said they'll be working 38 hours a week on this salary. And if they're not getting that from the employer, that means that they themselves are not meeting the immigration requirement. And when it comes to renewal of their visas, it will clearly create a lot of problems.
Right. Okay. So that brings me back to exactly what does the employer the employer has an exit route of saying, look, I have tried all I could. It's been 6 months. I've lost about 3 or 4 contracts, and therefore I want to relieve you my duty to somebody else. Is that also a possibility? And in that context, is that the employer's duty to find you an alternative place, or is your duty to go and find one and come and recommend to them?
Well,
how does it work?
Things do happen. So in this industry, the employer very likely will have a contract with the NHS or the local authority or even with private people to provide a service. And it's a very, very restricted area. The least complaint, you will lose your contract. So they lose and gain. But some people are not in to look for work. Some people are in to see what they can bring in and charge. And those are the people who are facing problems. Those who are doing it legitimately as a business, they always find work. I mean, the businesses that we look after, and we look after a lot of businesses, including pharmacies and building industries. And they do business development. They have a dedicated person whose role is to bid for contracts. And sometimes they have too much work, but they don't have the workers. Right. So yes, if the employer has lost their contract, you can't force them to keep you, even if you've worked with them for so many years. And that's why we do redundancy at workplaces. If the work is not coming in, the employer can't pay you. But what he has to do is to make you redundant. And it's always the last in, the first out. That is the process. Although they will have to go through the consultation process, follow the ACAS advice and the guide. It's always the last in, the first out.
So there's a hand up. I'm going to go to that person, and then I'll bring my other questions to you at a point. Joseph Kwanzaa, please, your hand is up.
Thank you, Nana. Yes, Mr. Osu, thank you for some of the clarifications, but I'll be grateful if you could further clarify. So in the event of the employer who brought you here saying that they've lost their contract, and therefore they don't have a job for you, but you are allowed to go and do the 20 hours. When it comes to the immigration renewal, what's the consequence?
Well, your employment is for a minimum term of 38.5 hours a week. That is what is on your certificate of sponsorship. If your employer is not meeting that, they have a reporting duty to report that consistently they've not been able, or you've not worked for that long. I'm afraid if you're not doing the minimum hours and you're not earning the income, it's not really about the minimum hours, it's about the income. If you're not earning whatever they offered you in a year, and you're earning below what a recommended rating, which is about £10.75 an hour. So if they add up all your pay, and it doesn't come to that, because 38.5 hours times 10.75 times 53 should give you about 20-something thousand. And if you're not earning 20-something thousand with your main employer who's a sponsor, it means that you haven't met the immigration requirement, and it's very likely to fail when it comes to renewal. Some of these people only have 1-year contract. Some have 3 years, some have 5 years, but a lot of them that I've seen recently, they only have 1-year contract.
Right. So in the case of dependent, a partner, husband, or if the husband or partner who accompanied the main applicant has been working and they can show that the family income is sustainable, even though the main applicant hasn't, how does that play? Because you and I'm sure this phone calls is every day, and that's why I'm a bit, I'm struggling to draw the line how much I put you on the spot in, because I know you know what I'm talking about, but also
yes,
from your profession, I don't want to put you in a situation where.
Yes, I do. So really the focus is the main applicant, not a dependent. Right. When it comes to maintenance, That's different. You can combine the income. But when it comes to whether you've met the eligibility requirement, which is that you're working a minimum of 38.5 hours at £10.75, some people pay £12, some pay £11, some pay 13, some pay 14. And you're not earning the required money. It doesn't matter how much your dependent is earning. They may be earning 50, 60, 70,000 a year. That's not the point of reference. The point of reference is a person who's being sponsored. If your employer is not giving you the work to earn what you should be earning, then there's a problem.
Right. So I have a chat room question here. Are there any suggestions of credible care companies? And this is one of the questions I didn't want to put you in, but as a community, we need to be able to have the ability to say, this is only our recommendation and we take no responsibility for your choice, rather than, because there are a lot of people paying money and we are talking about money. And it would have been good for us to have somehow here what we can recommend some areas where they should pursue it themselves, rather than us doing it for them. Because it's heartbreaking to see somebody coming from Ghana and constantly running around with no job. I already have about 5 people already pursuing me. So are there, I mean, I don't know, you are a lawyer, so I don't want to ask you to, is there a way we can work around how we can recommend some well-trusted, responsible organizations? Because what is happening is a lot of people have become recruiters in Ghana, even though they have no connection here at all. And they just literally, where they get the COL, certificate of sponsorship, only God knows, but they are offering it. And we don't want it to say they are fake, but at the end of the day, the point is we have a lot of people here who are Ghanaians and are struggling. How do we work around this? Because I don't want to say you can give us a list, but I'm asking how do we go about this?
I mean, first of all, as I keep saying, it's not our role to recommend, but we know what is fake. And that's why the nuggets that are shared is be careful, ask questions, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the glossy employment contract. Ask questions, insist on knowing, because these agents, some of them are in to make money, and the businesses are at the end. They might not even be aware. There's one that has just come before me. I've written to the business owner, and the issue around which the person has been dismissed and their cause has been withdrawn, it's not the best. I've written to her politely to try and see whether we can resolve it, but there should be no doubt that she's in breach of her contract. Yes, the person may not be able to bring an action at the employment tribunal because she hasn't worked there for 2 years. But this could be a breach of contract, and we are prepared to go all the way to where we have to go. The sad thing is that our people are too trusting. Our people don't ask questions. Our people don't like lawyers who ask questions. They rather will go to a connection man. They want words to be sugar-coated. They don't want you to tell them that this has no merits. They don't want you to say that this is potentially fraud. They don't want you to say that don't pay money for this, you don't think it's going to work. They just want people who come and sugarcoat the words and deceive them. And, I cannot do that. I've got a certificate hanging behind me. I've held it for so many years. I've been doing this work for 31 years. When I was called to the bar in 1992, the first thing I was told is your reputation. That is what you eat from. For me, anything else apart from my reputation, I'm not prepared to engage in. The sad truth is that we have a lot of naive people, but we also have people in the community who don't want to be led by good people. They want to be led by fraudulent people. So I'm afraid you can put in whatever you want, but we know in the community, we know those people who are doing that. And I've always said that the businesses that I look after, every time as I was speaking to you, I've got a text message from someone who say, I want to convert my staff paperwork into electronic. So that's the sort of proactivity that we want to see. And she's one of my businesses. She's not a Ghanaian, but she is a care provider, a very good person that I know, and we work for her. So I'm afraid those who want to do good are doing good. Those who want to have a proper back office with lawyers who advise them are doing that. And there are also those who are not interested in what I'm saying. I'm sure they might think I'm even too low with what I'm doing. And I'm showing people the way. They might not even like what I'm doing. But clearly, I have a duty to my community, something that I've done for 31 years. And I'm not going to stop doing it.
Thank you. We've got Franklin Rose. Your hand is up, please. If you're still with us, unmute yourself. And I do ask that you raise your, those of you who want questions, please raise your hand, because we have got a very competent lawyer here, and let's not let him go less than 2 hours, and then you come back and bombard some of us who don't have legal expertise. So please, Franklin, go ahead.
Thank you for taking my question. I do have 2 questions to the solicitor. Number one, what would you recommend to the government to be able to weed out individuals that the community itself do know are leveraging this migration route for their personal interest and not as it's being for its purpose? That is the first question. So from the community standpoint, what else can be done? The reason I'm asking this question is the government itself cannot police the community. It's impossible. It's where the communities work together with the government to strengthen a policy. So from the community level, what measure would you recommend has to be in place and can be rolled up that weed out individuals and groups that purport to use the migration, this particular migration process for their personal interest? That's the first question. My second question relates to how information is perceived and or reported in the home countries, which in this case is going to be Ghana. We expect an employer to pay an employee after they have discharged their duty. So under what circumstance will an employee who have not worked, who have not been in the country where he is going to work, who have not been on the job, rather turn around and paid money onto the employer? I'm dumbfounded. So maybe help me out in putting these 2 things together. So the first one is, what can the community do? And second one, what are some of the avenues, or what's flipped the coin? Let me put it that way. What usually led to the position whereby an employee is rather paying an employer to get him to or her to the job? Thank you.
Okay, well, I mean, thank you very much. I think the first thing we have to do is what we're doing already, information and education. That's very key in everything that we do, because information leads to informed decisions. Once there's information out there, but you'll be surprised about, I remember we've got 40 people. Go on another platform where they're doing gossiping and doing stupid things. You might have 2,000 people watching. So I'm afraid it's not everybody who's interested in what we're doing. I don't have a problem with that. But the other point that you're talking about is that sometimes the community has information. We've got Ghana Union. We've got other community projects. We do a minimum of 3 live programs every week. For example, today I'm here. Tomorrow I've got a program which is 2 hours. Sunday I'm driving 2 hours to Milton Keynes to speak to the Kwewu Union over there, and we're going to talk about some of these subjects. So the community is doing what it ought to do, which is provide information and education. I don't always like to say that, the community's responsibility all the time. It comes a point in time where the person who is imbibing the information or who is sourcing this service must start thinking, because they know there's been too many videos out there raising this very issue. my best friend's half-sister was going through this process. My best friend told me, oh, and she's a qualified nurse in Ghana, and she's about 35 years. So Nana, so and so has got employment in UK. I said, Kofi, wait, what employment? So and he called her. Yeah, so I'm going to work in the care industry. I said, Kofi, I'm sure she's paid money. He called her. Yeah, did you pay? Oh, no. Bruh, I didn't pay any money. 2 weeks down the line, whilst he was here, another friend called. She's a senior nurse who was in the care industry. She's now being recruited in the NHS. And was telling Kofi exactly what I was telling him. And Kofi called his half-sister again, and she admitted that her brother had paid £8,000 to a recruiter. So immediately what I did is I sent her a list of NHS jobs. There was over 2,000 of them online. I said, as soon as you get here, it's going to take you a long time to find work because I know these people haven't got work for you. So study, do what you have to do your CBT, do your English language, or look for NHS job and enroll so that you use the time to pass your nursing and midwifery exams so that you can become a professional. So you see, she was prepared to lie to her brother. This is a brother who brought her up from the age of 10 and taking her through university. She's done her nursing. She was prepared to lie to him. My advice is we will do what we do. We provide education. It's there. The materials are there. They are permanently on social media, all the platforms. Many other lawyers are doing the same. It's for people to take the information and learn from it and become wise from the information. Now, I've got a niece who's just putting something in the platform, and I didn't want her to put it on the spot. She went through the same process, and she was brought here by her blood relative. And when she told me, it was too late. She was actually told not to tell me. And when she told me, she's now paying over £18,000. I'm afraid it's a problem that happens. What we can do is what we're doing. In relation to the government in Ghana, most of these recruiters are either based there or go there. Now, what people have to do is to read the contracts properly. But when you sign a contract, it might be an unfair term contract, but by the time you take it to court, the little money you have is gone. So my advice to everyone always is that we should cascade the information, just like we do at work. You learn something, you cascade the information you share with your team. It's the same way we should pass this information onwards and make sure that people are wise, because you might say whatever you want to say. Somebody's there. All they want to do, they want to come here. Because if somebody is prepared to pay $5,000 for a visitor's visa, why would they not pay double for something that potentially will give them work? So yes, we have a moral obligation, which I'm happy to rise to, but also the people who we are aiming this at must also be prepared to learn and to act.
Okay, thank you. We've got Special Joy. Your hand is up, please. Franklin, I believe if you're done, Franklin Rose, could you, or may I lower your hand if you're done? Okay, Special Joy, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My question is, so from what you're saying, if somebody is coming here as a skilled worker, do they have to pay anybody apart from the visa fee? Do they have to pay anybody money before they get the visa fee? Before they get the opportunity to get here?
Well, of course, they have to pay the lawyer's fee. So I know they have to pay the lawyer's fee. So of course, they have to pay the lawyer's fee. But any other fee, my dear, all I will say is that whether they know they don't have to pay, and most of them will know that there are companies that will employ you free of charge. Of course, there's cost to it. I'm happy to share the cost. So for a 5-year COS for care is $2,019 plus a visa fee of $700. That is about £2,600. Sorry, £2,600 just for the visa and the COS. The Home Office says, and the Care Commission says, the carers must bear that cost. But you see, when you start putting on costs of this nature, what they will do is that they will not employ anyone from outside. And therefore, there's what we call a burden shared or shared responsibility. Some care companies will spread this for you for 3-4 years for you to pay. But lawyer's fee is not part of that fee. And some people will charge reasonable recruitment fee. Just like in the off-plan purchase, people charge a referral fee. As to how much it is, I cannot say. That is why the World Health Organization has banned NHS from going directly to Ghana, because NHS used to pay recruiters £2,000 to go and recruit nurses from Ghana, Nigeria, and all those places. They don't do that anymore. But if you come here, they are allowed to recruit you. So there is benefit in recruiting from outside, because the person will want to get the indefinite leave. At the minimum, they will be tied to you for about 5 years. The care industry, the staff turnover is months, not years. And this will give business stability to all this business if they're doing it properly. And I have to add again, majority are doing it properly. Majority that I know are doing it extremely well, because before this, they were already running successful businesses. So we all have a moral duty to spread the word and say, be cautious. But as with everything, sometimes when they shout too much and it's too loud, somebody will block their ear and they will not hear you.
Thank you. I mean,
Thank you very
I do have to say that it's not only the Ghanaian community that is going through this. If you saw, those of you who saw a special report, there were Filipinos, people from Philippines and all the other kind of countries have come here and through the same type of route, going through the same. So we just have to take the right information to our people. Lawyer, unfortunately, the people in Ghana, they block their ears to the truth. When you tell them the truth, you are the worst enemy. Because you have gone and you are going back and forth. Why is it that you don't want us to go? That is the problem. That is the reason why they block their ears. And people can stand in your face and tell you, I haven't done this, even though they've done it. Franklin, your hand is up again, please. Would you unmute yourself? Franklin.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for asking a lot of questions.
Please do.
This question pertains to still to the lawyer. Let me use maybe analogy to explain my questions better. If an off-duty police officer do come across a criminal act, they do not wait until they are on duty to be able to bring to the person to apprehend. So in a familiar case where a similar case comes to your office and you know that there is a criminal aspect to it, you did mention that you have sent a kind of a letter to an employer that is not complying. To what extent do you flip those individuals to the authority for say, hey, there could be a fire brewing here, and so that particular employer need, let's say, an audit to be able to help save the employee, since what is driving these individuals to take these roles is not just for joy, but down underneath, we all know it's economic. So what are some of the procedures or some things within your practice that is helping stem out these, I don't know how to put them, yes.
Yeah, so first of all, there's a lawyer-client relationship. The duty of every professional is that when you see crime being committed, certain crimes, you have a duty to report. Now, every one that has come before me are civil matters. The only one that potentially was fraud was somebody going on the NHS system and issue a certificate of sponsorship under the name of the NHS. That did not become our case. They didn't engage further. Bear in mind that where you've reported a crime, I'm not the victim. They will need to speak to the victim. Most of them will not speak to the police. So unfortunately, but there's a case that I referred to in Oxford where the modern slavery department at the Home Office, the police and the local authority and immigration were involved. And I understand charges have been brought for modern slavery. So yes, and I always caution that some of the practices that people do may lead to criminal offense. But those that have come to us are mainly civil matters, mainly. And of course, those that we're dealing with, most of them have been successful. But again, there's nothing preventing both parties being alive to their responsibilities. Now, I don't know, but I will not sign anything without reading it. I don't see why somebody will not ask questions. But there's information out there for what to do and what not to do. So we should continue to share the information, signpost. And that's all we can do, my dear, unfortunately.
Thank you. Lawyer, so from your experience, those who go through the appropriate route, say recruiting through NHS or any of those well-established ones, what is the length of time it takes from start to the time that person in Ghana, or wherever they may be coming from, will be approved to enter? How long do you think it would take?
It's very short. I mean, you see, and that's why sometimes it really hurts me that we're doing this to ourselves. The care industry has been given all the special dispensation that most people don't get. They don't pay IHS. You know, the IHS is going up from 647 to 1,035 in January. You also know that they pay half of the immigration fees. Even they don't pay immigration skills charge. Most people will pay potentially for cities, firms in the city to employ a migrant is potentially over £10,000 cost to them. And this is a high level employment. So we're talking about software engineers up until the highest level. But for those on shortage occupation, they've been given so many special dispensation. And when I see the abuse, it really worries me. So, Nana, you know, we all have a moral duty, but the people that the duty falls on most is the people who are sourcing the service. And you know, they should be alive to their responsibilities and say, I'm going to ask questions. I'm not paying for this. I'm not doing it.
Right.
Others will do it. You know, there are people who will go out and do it. But for me, what we need to do is to educate and say, you can't do this, you can't do that. Again, the caveat is that you cannot tar all of them with the same brush. Majority of them, I say overwhelming majority, are doing the right thing. It's only the few bad nuts who've literally just given it a bad name. But, you know, we should all work together.
Right. Stanley Kwachi, please. Stanley, could you unmute yourself? And go ahead, please, Stanley, if you're still with us.
Okay, please, good evening. I'm grateful for this particular opportunity given to some of us. My brother is a nurse in Ghana who has passed his CPT exam and then also the IELTS exam. Please, what procedure must he pass through before coming to UK, or is there any other route? I joined this conference later. That's why the latter part here, that's why I'm asking this question. Maybe solicitor has already spoken to that, but I wasn't here to hear that. So I need the route to help my brother come here.
I want to share the NHS list with Paul and Linda. Maybe they might put it in their group. I'm doing that now. So the first thing to do is to go on the link, and I've shared it. I'm sure they will put it on there. If you copy the link, give it to them. It says NHS jobs, and there are jobs there, NHS jobs, and it's there. You know, these are jobs there. I can see them, new contract. There's a lot of jobs there, which I can see. Now, I've put it there. You may want to have a look at it. And then, you know, maybe that's where they have to start.
Thank you. Special Joy, your hand is up again. If you still have another question, your name is very sweet. Special Joy. I wish you can share that with me.
Good evening once again. I see a lady's hand up. Her actual hand is up. So I think that's why you have not seen her, Evelyn Evans, appear. I think she want to talk.
Okay, okay, sorry. Thank you for bringing him out. Okay, Evelyn, please.
So, yes, sorry, I have omitted myself. I've been in this country very long, and I was a nurse and a social worker, and I retired in foster care and a lot. But I'm now in the process of setting up a small unit for people with learning disability, which is in the process. The stage I am at is the accommodation. My intention is not to employ a Ghanaian in my unit, because I've had experience of employing one Ghanaian in my team as a social worker, and I was a team manager there, and she tried to bring me down. But whilst we have a solicitor on board, what I want to ask is, can I recruit somebody who has come here to look for a care job, but I'm sorry to say I'm a Ghanaian, but not being a Ghanaian? And which way do I go?
Well, first of all, you cannot recruit by discrimination. So you cannot say Ghanaians should not apply. I understand what you're saying. I understand it perfectly well. If you want to recruit for a special role and you want specific characteristics, you can. If you want to recruit people from outside, you need to, or migrants, you need to get a sponsorship license, unless you want to recruit people who are already resident here.
I don't want to go through that route and recruit anybody from Ghana. I do not want to have my anything to do with immigration policies. Stop. However, if someone is here already, haven't got their document and looking for a job, where do I go? I know someone who is going to link me up with somebody else, but whilst I'm on the platform, I just want to know more about recruiting people.
So if somebody's here and they've got a right to work, you can recruit them to work for you.
Yeah.
Just remember that people are students. Most of them can only work 20 hours during term time. So just be aware. If somebody's here on another temporary visa, their work is always restricted. And the reason why people apply for the sponsorship and employ people is that it allows them to employ migrants instead of those who are here permanently. So yes, you can employ anybody, but they have to have a right to work. And your duty not to incur, you also have a duty to check their right to work so that you don't incur the civil penalty of employing illegal migrants.
I think I will take your details once this forum is come to an end, and maybe I'll contact you and come to your office, and maybe we'll have a discussion and you put me right which way to go rather than go to the job center.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Evelyn. Joseph Kwanzaa, please. Joseph Kwanzaa, do you unmute yourself?
It's a comment on what Evelyn has said, that she doesn't want to employ Ghanaians. She's been a social work manager. And I also want to comment, because I'm also a social worker, that I have worked with Ghanaian managers. And the way and manner you also treat Ghanaians when Ghanaians are working for you is not appropriate. There is always a preferential treatment. The way you treat a white social worker is different from your own Ghanaian social worker.
Can we revert back to this conversation? Or
no, just a comment.
The topic. Thank you.
Just a comment, so that
I understand.
Just a quick comment.
Please, you might carry on about that. Evelyn will come back. Let's go back to the topic that we have in hand.
No, I mean, in conclusion, what I'm trying to say is that if you are a Ghanaian and you're in the position of as a manager, and a Ghanaian is working under you, treat the Ghanaian fellow as a human being and not to discriminate. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody signed up? I have some chat room questions. Yes, BWF solicitors contact is being put on the chat room, 0208-493-7340. In an emergency, and it's only emergency, 077-126, sorry, 1276-1884. You can also log on to their website. Bernard has a lot of information there. He's also kindly put on the job chat room www.jobsnhs.uk there. Those who want to go through, better route of helping their family back home. By all means, if you struggle and you need assistance and guiding you how to make the application itself, that is where the lawyer said he may be able to have people that can assist. So if you are struggling with going about it, sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. You go through and pay all of that, and then you get turned down, and then you have to start over. So if you go there and you see a job and you think you have somebody that matches the criteria, there's nothing wrong spending £1,000 with a lawyer than to pay £18,000 with an agent that you can never trace where they are. But you need to find a job first. The lawyer won't find it for you. That is why he's put it there. Olivia Santi.
Olivia, yeah.
Olivia Santi, please.
Thank you very much for such an informative session. It's been very good. I just have a question similar to what Evelyn asked. If you are to help a small business set up and have all the right precautions and measures put in place, what is your fee? Don't mention the particular one, but just guide us so that we prepare coming forward. Because I am interested in, similar to what Evelyn said, because I know from what is happening, there are going to be a lot of migrants within the UK who will not have jobs. So I don't want to have a license to go and bring someone from abroad. But however, from what you have said, I have understood it that we still need the license if even we want to help the people who are already in to find a job. And also my second question is that you did mention construction in part of your introduction to link in with the care. So I wanted to understand if there's any shortage route that we could bring people who are in construction into the UK if we have a construction job. And then the last one, I've got 3 questions which I put in the chat. So the last one I'm asking is, as a very, very passionate person in setting up small businesses, I'm thinking if we can in any way try to have a list of good companies that have passed through yourself, and you cannot recommend to anyone, but we can have something similar to what the CQC does with a rating to say, go through this list. There are people that we have worked with in one way or the other. So when people are finding their jobs and they go to them, they know that at least they'll get a job when they come here. And also the last one, that's the final one, is that is there any way, because a lot of people who have set up such small businesses, from my understanding and speaking to most of them, don't have business understanding, because we did talk about having that back office to help you, but most people think about what they are getting and not actually having the thinking of growing a business to a very big thing that their children can also come and take over. So is there any way we can have something like an umbrella trying to bring the small companies together, even if it's in little counties, to have a big organization, bring the small ones under them, and then tender some of these contracts for them and manage it from a very special way? That's something I'm thinking about as well. So this is my questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Evelyn. So Evelyn, to set up the business, our role mainly is advice, consultancy, and sometimes create some of the templates for you. So what we do, we advise an appropriate business registration, your governance documents, because that's what you rely on if there's a dispute, your memos and your constitutions and other things. But for specific professional and regulatory registration, we don't have the expertise in there. So, if you want to register CQC, or you have to go through CQC, we will obviously advise you on the legal implications of certain aspects. But they're very basic things that you need. If you're starting a business, you first have your idea, the incubation period, and then you birth the business. You do the business registration, then you source whether you're going to do a remote premises or you're going to hire a place. put in your insurances, your systems. You must always have a computer with a very good internet and a network so that you'll be able to save some of the information in the cloud, which you can access from apps or from the software anywhere in the world. Once you've done that, if you then decide to go for the license, which is something that you've thought about, you need to have various documents in place. How to accept, recruit, identify, and assess people onto your system, the onboarding process, your understanding of what immigration and the UK laws are, or you have to put in a manual. You need to have a template, contract of employment, job descriptions, job specifications. You need to have a chart, organizational chart, the rules that people are playing, and you need to identify the vacancies you have. But above all, the ongoing duty of record keeping. And again, we come in and help because then, for example, if somebody has interacted with an employee today and they want to take disciplinary action, instead of just sending a text message, you will have templates from us to say, this is the first letter that goes. This might be the second letter. This might be a verbal warning. This might be a written warning. Although if the person hasn't worked for you for 2 years, their rights are a bit, restricted. We always want you to follow the process and do what industry practice recommends with ACAS documents to back up. Then we walk you through the SMS, which is a sponsorship management system. We show you how to identify potential fraudulent documents and then how to populate the system, your reporting duties, how to report, what to keep and what not to keep. And then if we are still involved with you, we will, with your onboarding process, we will do it with you. So once we're doing it, we keep all our records. We create a folder, very nice folder. We then give you the folder, but we also keep some of the folder. But you as an employer, you are bound by the 2018 Data Protection Act and the GDPR. So some of the information as lawyers, once our job is finished there, we transfer that to you. You update the information regularly with your training records and everything. Simple file sharing. You get a proper computer person or IT person who will create folders for you so that you know how to share. It's not very expensive. It's not very expensive. That is how you manage your business. With a business idea to run a business properly, that I cannot teach. I think people learn, but also what I found is that most Ghanaians are very ingenious and our ingenuity come to the fore. But you did mention business communities coming together. I'm afraid my experience is that community businesses do not want to come together. Lawyers do not want to come together. Care homes do not want to come. They would rather have a one-man business than have a potential 10-partner firm or business. That's the way we were brought up. So we like the enterprise. Konimo enterprise, and it's one person, one man, one boxer shorts. So they are there. That's all. They just run their business like that. So I'm afraid, when this High Commissioner first came, he called all the lawyers. He said we should all come together and have one big firm. Some of us said we are happy to do it. Most people said no. I'll run my one business. That's our nature, I'm afraid. Recommendations. You see, I know if somebody calls me today, I hesitate, but there are people that I can recommend and say, go and see this person. But whatever happens, I know the person will have jobs for you. That I know, because I know these people work their socks off to find new contracts. So when somebody calls me, most people I will say, I can help you. But those that I know, I will say, try and speak to this person. I'll say, try and call this care home. There are certain care homes that have kept their numbers. And sometimes when people call them and say, where did you get my number from? Because the number I have is either the manager or the owner. I don't have, so then it becomes a problem. So again, I'm very careful. Construction industry, yes, the construction industry, there are various items in there that obviously is also the short of occupation. And even this October, The Migration Advisory Committees advised that they should stay. There's a plumbing, painting, carpenters, masons, bricklayers, tilers, welders, dry liners, roofers, all this is shortage occupation. So as I said before, we are now babysitting companies to go through the process. I think with the 3 of the companies, we are almost at the end of the process, and very soon, they will come out, they will come and share their story. But what we do is that we bring the good business, the excellent businesses to come and share their story. We've done that last 3 weeks. We brought somebody in the care industry who's been doing it for over 15 years. His wife was a senior nurse. He's a business development person. The two have combined and they're doing excellent work for the community. We will also bring somebody from the building industry very soon. And he will come and talk about the processes. So they will talk about business development for that industry. We will talk about the regulatory regime and how to comply with things. So, very good questions, but sometimes in our community, people want to go one-man business so that at least they can also be seen as business owners.
Thank you so much. At this point, Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum, we have been with you for almost 2 hours, about 5 minutes to 2. We will now round up by saying thanks to Ghana Nurses Association UK, Ghana Union, Western Region Association of Nurses, and Nightingale Ghanaian Association. Also thanks to Tap Send for supporting us, and of course those who are behind the scene, Paul and Linda. Before we close it, may I ask Bernard if you have any closing remarks, please?
Well, all I can say is that there's information everywhere these days. I obviously do my possible best to bring the information to you when we get them in a language that everybody will understand. Sometimes when you vanish it too much, it loses its efficacy. And, so we do our best. Every week we bring you a nugget. We set a question, because what I've learned in my life is that theory alone doesn't work. You need to do the practice. So like with what we've done, we ask a question on certain aspects of it, then you answer. That is how it stays in your memory. But again, people like you've done this for decades, helping the community. We all have a moral duty to put this out there. But what I also tell people is that the majority of our community members comply with the law. They run legitimate, successful businesses, and we should applaud them. The few that are doing what is being said, some of them, I don't know, but the names come to us. Sometimes you speak to them, you advise them, but most often where their monies have changed and clearly, they obviously are guarded in what they can tell you. We should continue to do this awareness forum on all aspects of our lives. The Jewish people do it. The Asians do it best. The Chinese even better. We should continue to help each other. But I'm afraid, unfortunately, as our mother said, to the extent that she doesn't even want to employ somebody from her own country. Some of us, haven't really treated owners of business very well, and they come to work with you and steal from you and do all sorts of things to you. And that's why she said she'd rather employ someone else. And again, Joseph, who is my friend and a very senior social worker who helps the community and has helped the community for many, many years, also comes to say that Ghanaian business owners must also treat their fellow Ghanaians with respect and as the industry expects. So both sides, have an issue. And I think there can always be a middle way. Always money is a problem. But again, if you chop small and I chop small, when the problem is 100%, you have 50, I have 50. It's less problem to have than having 100% problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As always, it's been a pleasure to have you with your intellect and expertise. We will continue to engage you and your firm You've never shied away from supporting anyone that comes to your door, albeit sometimes even with challenges, you do your best. So thank you for your service to the community. Any topic that come to mind that we haven't touched on, even if we've touched on, some of them we've done a year ago. The immigration rules, the beauty of it is that, whether it's beauty or not, I don't know, but it keeps changing every 6 months. So there's nothing wrong coming back again in the next couple of weeks if you have something new that we can rely on. On that note, we want to thank all of you for your time. Please use GCAF for your sending money, £5 free. You will get it. Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum code for you to use if you're using TapTap for the first time. On that note, have a good evening, a beautiful weekend, and stay safe and be well. Good night.
The Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum is proudly sponsored by TapTap Send. Download the TapTap Send app today and use promo code GCAF, that is GCAF, to get a cool £5 bonus on your first transfer.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada Dada. And then he left go menu. My son, this is a tap. Who was Spain? Oh, yes. Spain was any secret free, huh? And for Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a man of a baby from Rono. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, also, don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on TapTap Send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through TapTap Send to Ghana. And please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a clan talk. Reggae man of a pack. It's TapTap Send.